Hello everybody and welcome. I just wanted to take a minute to do a new video for you and maybe cover some of the first steps that the Father has for us as far as His direction, His path, and focus on the things that He has for us and not necessarily get distracted by mankind and their ideas, the flesh and the world. So this is that really neat little program that I shared with everybody that's now available across multiple platforms. Like you can use it in Linux, Windows, and Android. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up and take a look at some of the scriptures, my favorite one for today, and give you another quick refresher on how this works. Okay, so basically it pops up here, and I'm not really sure how to do it, but there's a way to pop this up down here on the bottom, and I'm not really sure how to keep it up there all the time. So every time I come in here I have to take my search window and pull it up. That's okay. So go to the OT, Old Testament, for those of you that aren't familiar with Tanakh. I go Zephaniah 3 and verse 9. Okay, and here it is. It's kind of hard to see, so I'm going to bump this up a little bit. View, zoom, and zoom in like this. I wonder what would happen if I did that again. Zoom in. Oh yeah, there we go. So primarily what I'm concerned with today is this right here, the BRUaH ShPhaH. For then I turn to the people a pure language, and they may all call upon the name of Yahuah to serve Him in unity, to be Echad with Him, or of the same mind, of the same understanding, to share burdens. But let's take step number 1 first. Okay, so He's going to turn the people to His pure lip. The Father doesn't change. He doesn't defile Himself by using alien and foreign influences. So basically what I want to do is I want to do a search and find out. It looks like ShPhaH is commonly translated as lip. BRUaH is commonly transferred as being pure. So I'm going to click on this, left click, and then I'm going to click on this, and it goes away. I did this before, didn't I? So I go up here and I do a right click, and I click on search. Okay, and then go down here in this window and click search. Now what's interesting, I wanted to show this to you, that there are just a few places in Scripture where the Father really doesn't allow us to see a whole lot of examples of what He's trying to say here. And this just so happens to be one of them. Now, where we have to be careful is this kind of opens the door for like other people to kind of put their philosophy, their twist, their corrupted perception or something like that on this word and make it mean basically anything they want to. I have a way where you might be able to get into the pictograph, get a little bit better understanding of what the Father's trying to show us here, but that's at another time for another video. Okay, so we only have one instance in all of the Tanakh, the Torah, which is the first 5 books, the prophets, and the writings like Psalms and Proverbs. One instance. That's huge, isn't it? Okay, so let's go back to where we started out at Zephaniah 3:9, and let's take a look at this ShPhaH. There's a left click. I go up here, do a right click, It's on search now, and it's not necessarily on concordant view, but since I got search clicked here, I'm going to click off of it, go back over to ShPhaH, and go like this. Now search pops up. You might have to do that with your phones. And then when I do a search like this, look at all these different places. How many hits did we get? We got 9 found in 9 verses. Okay, so the first one says lip. And look at here. Him. Techara. When we click on this, let's see what we're talking about here. And there shall be a hole in the midst of the robe, and the hole of the Habergion, with a band round about the hole, and a shroud that it should not rend. So basically, lip. When you think about what's common between a lip and say the hem of a garment, you might think about like the leading edge of something. Say, for example, I like to think of the lip of a barrel. It's that outside open perimeter. And the outside open perimeter of, say, a shirt or a tunic or a robe or even a pair of pants or something like that. So, that's kind of interesting. And then we got lip. There's another one that says lip. It looks like it's the majority kind of are under the perspective of lip. So it makes sense that lip, a man's mouth, that's where the purity and the power of the Father's Word comes from. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. And you might be able to make a connection with something like the tzitzit that the Jews wear. That's a different perspective of what the Father says in His Word. It's not 4 little tassels from 4 little corners. It's actually what you might call a fringe around the lip of the garment, or actually the whole thing. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So basically I wanted to show you that the Father wants us, like when He comes back, and I'll do a little bit of background on this just to catch everybody up. But when I go up to 3:9, and then over here on the right hand side I'm going to jump up and click on verse number 8. And therefore wait ye upon me, saith Yahuah, until the day that I rise up to pray, and for my determination is to gather the nations, that I might assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them my indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. Now, I want to go up here and just remind everybody, that there's going to be a huge gathering that the Father talks about. All the people are basically going to come unto Him, and when they come unto Him, then they're going to go and receive of His Word, His wisdom. He's going to set everything straight, and that's going to be a wonderful day. But basically, a lot of people, lazy people, I'd have to say, are sitting by and they're thinking that Yahuah is going to do some kind of a Spock trick, like on Star Trek, where He's going to do a mind meld and actually put this into your mind just kind of magically or with a miracle or something like that. And that's pretty good for, a lot of lazy people to sit back and wait for that, and good luck with that. But the Father tells us, that we need to apply ourselves. Even the Jews, the scribes, and in the days of old, in the ancient past, they did the work. They did the work to try to get close to the Father, to understand, and they studied. They weren't just sitting back and waiting for the magic trick, you might say. So basically, that's what I'm trying to share with you. And I want to go back and give you a couple of resources which will be found in the description. So I'll be sure to put this one in there, this link, and I need to put it on that other video too. But I want to start out with very basic stuff. So there's a YouTube video. It's kind of like the ABC song, but it's what's commonly referred to as the Hebrew letters. Now, these letters aren't like the original, which Moshe or Moses wrote. Kind of give you an example of what's going on there. That's not it. Here we go. So over time, the text has evolved. Now, when you take a look at this image, and I'll put a link to it as well, everybody needs to download it and study and learn this. So over time, the Aleph Bet evolved. So the early one, people call this the pictograph. So let's use the Aleph, or the very first one here for an example. There's the ox head. Okay, and as we go on, that's the early one they're saying. And then the middle one kind of started to resemble an A, an upside down or sideways A. Okay, and this is commonly referred to as the Paleo script. The late one would be considered like modern Hebrew, but this square type font, if you will, actually was established and accepted during the time of the Babylonian captivity, and they're calling that late because they're still even using that today, and they're calling it the modern Hebrew. So the important thing to know is that over time it has changed. It looks different on paper, but word for word and letter for letter, it's exactly the same. It's kind of like the difference between if you were to write your name or to print it. They both spell the same, they both say the same, it just looks different on paper. Or another example might be if you were to be writing a document and you switched from Courier to Sans or something like that. So they look different on paper, but word for word and letter for letter, they mean exactly the same thing. This is really a good resource because when you start getting into the pictograph and the Father's perspective of the ancient way, every letter that the Father has a specific meaning. Okay, so for example, the Aleph is an ox head. That's what it's commonly referred to as. This is a symbol of power and leadership. I like to kind of consider it instead of an ox head as more of like the chief. Okay. When you see a herd of buffalo, bison, whether it be deer or whether it be any kind of animal that runs in a herd, you can kind of see that dominant male sitting on the high point and kind of watching over everybody. Okay, this is what's represented by the Aleph. So you can kind of get the meaning over here. You can't take all of this, word for word. People have put their own opinion in here, and some of these opinions could be influenced by outside resources and corruption, so we need to test everything. So basically the Aleph, there's the late one, and the name they're calling it is the El, ox head, and you can see it says Ah or Eh. This is the modern letter. Its modern name is the Aleph, and it says it's a silent sound, but if it makes a sound, it can't be silent. Another important thing to remember is don't try to use Western phonetic semantics to try to be able to speak the Father's language, because it doesn't apply. He never had those in the beginning, and we shouldn't be trying to use those to speak his language, because when his language was commonly used, when it was used by everybody, there was no Western grammar semantics. So verbs, vowels, nouns, adjectives, and even the vowel pointings that the Jews added during the Persian captivity do not apply, and we need to actually glean those things out of the way so to get back to the basics without all the corruption and the influences from outside that have been added to the Father's language. So we need to kind of like try to think about it as before the Tower of Babel and try to get back there as best we can. So this is a really good resource. It kind of shows you how everything evolved into even the Latin of what we have today. So I'm going to pop back to our little video here, and I'm going to play you a Hebrew ABC song. And this is really a fun way to recognize the characters and to learn how to say each one of them. So here we go. That's pretty cute. But anyway, learning these little songs, kind of like we did back in kindergarten and first grade, is just a really fun way to be able to remember and to learn the alphabet, commonly referred to as Hebrew. The father never said that, but I like to think of it as his language and not necessarily the Hebrew, because Hebrew has some distractions, some corruptions along with it. So that's basically it. First grade stuff. The father's BRUaH ShPhaH, where to find it, our best resource, and how to get back to it. I'm open for comments. Anybody that's interested in doing a study group, you want to get together and do some online interactive stuff, I'm all about trying to do that Google Hangout thing and do some studies that way. I'm not, I don't know it all, and I'll be the last one to admit it. What I am is just a guy who has found some really wonderful resources over the years that I'd like to try to share with other people. So comment, share, subscribe. Let's get together and let's try to figure this stuff out so we can get closer and be prepared for when the Father comes and he can say, yes, these are my people.